Okay, let's start. Let's rock and roll. Okay, my name is Stephanie, and we've got Mandy Mitchell on here. We've got a whole lot of amazing leaders that are going to share with you. If you went to Keto Academy and more, we all know that was absolutely amazing. You should post. A couple of you are going to be sharing your takeaways, but while we are chatting, you can always share your takeaway in the comments as well, because I think it's fun to read them. If you were not there, we are going to share with you a couple things that we learned, what we saw, what's to come, what in the world is this playbook event they're talking about, and just something we're going to do running up to the playbook event. And so it's really exciting. I'll tell you this, and then I'm going to let Mandy, we're going to kind of ping pong back and forth. But I loved this event so much. The reason I love to go to these events is because I feel like it puts on a shield. Like I've got a shield on. I feel like I'm empowered. I feel like we legitimately have crazy research and documentation. And what I loved is that these doctors not only came in and these experts like this, I was talking about this online today, all of these experts that came in and talked, like last year when she came, she wasn't so sure about this, right? But when she took this for herself and started using it in her research, now she's using it twice a day. Like the way they come and talk to us and what they realize we have our hands on and the community, like it's so fun to watch these scientists and experts come, these keto thought leaders, and they love what Prove It is doing. And I love it so much. And I'm sure all of you agree. And so it's going to be a fun night. I have a couple things I wanted to chat about, but hey, Mandy, you're on, right?
Mandy. Yes, I'm on. I'm sorry. I'm sending all of my reminders because what the heck? Only 47 people?
I know. I said it's kind of I was talking to Brian today, and he was telling me how oftentimes as a team, as a company, whenever you have something scheduled at the same time every single day for a certain period of time, whether it's months or so, he goes, people just get complacent and they don't hop on, right? But I said, I feel like Sunday nights are great. Like we've got people show up. It's a great start of the week. And so I said, we'll see how tonight goes because it's kind of thrown into the middle of the week. But he said it's good to mix it up sometimes. So I said, well, we're testing that out. We'll see.
I have more champs in our team than the number on this call. I'm kind of horrified. I'm just going to be honest. Doesn't change how fired up I am, but I feel bad for all 50 of you then, I guess, because that's only going to get dispersed through 50 people. I think we need like 250 to be able to handle all my excitement. So just be prepared.
Okay. Well, I have something. So what's so interesting is we went to the event, right? And sometimes you go, who on the call, who is this their very first event? Was it anybody? Or how many people, raise your hand, how many people who have been to many events? Like Patty, it was her first event. There's other people that have been to many. Mine too. And I will tell you this. Sometimes people go, well, I've already been to that event. Oh my goodness. There's always new information. There's always new things to learn. You come into the atmosphere or into the environment, a different person no matter what. So you always have something new to learn. I was blown away. It was the very first event that I ever had went to where I told Steve, I said, we have so many great leaders that I didn't have to feel like I was not micromanaging people, but I didn't feel like I had to go around and make sure everybody was having a good time. Oh, where your outcome is being met, like making sure, like holding everybody's hands because you just want to make sure everybody's happy. I felt like it was one of the first events I've gone to that everybody was so excited. There was strong leadership. Like people were like empowered. They were leading. They were playing full out. I loved it. And so what's interesting is this. You go and you learn, right? I was flying on my way home today, and in Florida, I had a book that I forgot that I had gone through. It's a leadership development book in 2004. And so I opened it up, and some of the stuff that I had gone through years ago I was a mom. Not all that I was, but like in my head back then, all I was a mom. And so it's so interesting to read my unawareness of life in some of these answers of like, I just had no clue when I went through this, although I was learning stuff as I went. But one thing that really stuck out to me in this book that I wanted to read to you said, everyone ends up somewhere, but few people end up somewhere on purpose. And so I loved the quote. it just talked about the power of vision. Like, are you living on purpose? And so I'll read you a teeny tiny bit of it because I loved it so much. It said, can you imagine someone sitting outside or somebody setting out to construct a building without a plan? Envision somebody creating a meal without a recipe. Picture somebody going on vacation without making any plans of where they're going. Many people go through life without a plan, without a direction, without a vision. Everywhere ends up somewhere on purpose. Or everybody ends up somewhere. Few people end up somewhere on purpose. And I was like, man, that's good. And then it just kind of, what it does is it breaks us, like we read one every day. I totally forgot about this. I was like, this is a great tool. And so it just talked about the power of your vision. And it said there's 3 benefits to a vision will bring 3 benefits to your life. It will first bring focus. The second one, so that you stay motivated. We like to stay inspired, right? When you're focused, you will know what you're going to do or what you're supposed to do. The second, I'm stuttering. The second thing a vision brings is endurance. Because if you've got a vision, if you know what you're here for, right, you can go the long term. You can go the distance. Like, you're going to have the endurance. And lastly, it brings peace. So I loved it. Focus, endurance, peace. So I love this. I read it this morning. I'm so excited. The event was the best event ever. If you were at the event, everybody was saying that. And Brian was like, we should just make a shirt that says best event ever and just sell it at every single event, because that's usually what happens. So Mandy, I'll stop jib-jabbering. Why don't you take a little, what you kind of want to talk about? I've got some more notes, but we can ping pong back and forth.
Sure. So really quick, like when I post out this Zoom link, Stephanie, I posted out with this tiny little paragraph that said, this is not going to be about you should have been at the event. No. Sometimes I feel like that's the soapbox we get on after an event. Also, Scott Johnson, you have an incredible taste in shirt choices today. Sometimes I feel like we can get on that kind of a soapbox. Those of us that have been there are so passionate about how life-changing it was, and it can sort of feel like we're making people feel bad for not getting there.
Yes.
Listen, I'm going to call it out right now. If we have an event on this same weekend next year, I won't be there. Our daughter will be graduating. So we don't ever want to make you feel bad for not going. But when Stephanie and I chatted about what this Zoom should be like, we really just wanted to come to you all passionately and share what we thought were the valuable lessons, the things that we learned, both like for our mental game and our actual like activity game, right? Because, activity is really what moves this business forward, you guys, right? So I think at one day we were like, action, action, action. And I used to be a cheerleader and then a cheerleading coach. And so now I have this cheer I taught my girls stuck in my head. So now I'm like, that's the word of the day. So we just kind of wanted to come to you and share like, hey, listen, these are our takeaways, but these are the takeaways that we felt like we can share with everybody and then take some action and move forward. So by the end of this, we're actually going to give you some things to do that will help move your business forward over the next, specifically, I think we're going to focus on like the next 14 days, or I think it's really like 20 days or something like that till the event, but something like 2 to 3 weeks, and get really, really, really like specific for how we can grow between now and the playbook. So what I was hoping, this is hysterical, you guys. Stephanie and I don't really ever even talk about what our Zooms are going to look like. We're just like, these are the topics, let's ping pong. I have a couple people I might call on, Steph, at some point through this to just be like, hey, share what you learned that you're going to put into action, or what you learned that's going to drive your action, because I think that's 2 entirely different things. And like, I would like to share, or have some of us share, some of our biggest takeaways too. And not like we're telling you like, oh my gosh, you should have been there and you can't understand if you weren't there. That's my whole point, is like, I want us to share things with everybody that like, it doesn't matter if you weren't there. Like, you'll feel our energy and you'll hear our words and it'll help move your business forward. So that's kind of a premise and no real information, but just how I'm feeling.
I think that's great. I have 3 ladies that we're going to pop on for sure and share theirs too. So we can start with their shares and then we can kind of ping pong back and forth after that. So like, I think I've got a girl, Colleen. She's in Canada, and she like grabbed me by the shoulders as she walked out, and she had a great takeaway, and I think it would be a great one to start with. So Colleen, if you want to unmute yourself, and then we'll just kind of go back and forth. Colleen, where are you? Colleen. Well, you're going to miss out. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to be mean. Colleen, if you come back on later and whatever. Ah, hers is really good. Okay, that's fine. We're going to go to Daniela. Daniela, are you on?
I mean, what's up with your crew, Stephanie?
I don't know. This is terrible. Okay.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, we're here. Yes.
Yay!
You can't really, so I lost my voice coming back. I don't have a voice. So I'm trying, hopefully you guys can understand me.
We can hear you.
Okay. So my takeaway from all this, Keto Academy, listening to the doctors just validated what I already knew in my heart. It just kind of validated in my head, you know, what I felt about the product. Stephanie, you know my journey and how I came to find these ketones. And, you know, I have 4 boys. I'm an exhausted mom. I homeschool. So Stephanie and I, that's how we connected. And so going to this event, this just validated for me everything that I knew. And it gave me the confidence to just go out and have that ketone conversation with everyone. And it also showed me what Prove It is truly about. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was in for. And it makes me love everything so much more in this community. I like I said, I had no idea what Prove It stood for. And it makes me proud to represent and be a part of this community. And to be able to move forward and just educate others with the knowledge that was provided for us by these amazing doctors. And it's made me even more passionate about this journey and where this journey goes to. And then our session with Joseph, that was deep. For me, that was something I didn't know that we were going to get into that, but it brought out, it made me realize, it brought to light what was kind of lingering in the dark for me. And I don't know if other people feel that way. He just kind of dug deep down and just brought out, it validated for me that it was okay to be uncomfortable, comfortable with being uncomfortable. And to kind of be your own cheerleader. No one else is going to cheer you on. And it just did so much for my self-confidence and what I know that I can now do with this company and with this support, and knowing that you guys are here to support us new people, you know, and that just gives me so much more fire than I could ever imagine. And then I get teary-eyed just thinking about it, because it just feels so good. It feels right to me. And I can't wait to just share it with everybody. And my roommates, my team, Jenna and CJ and Lola and Lori, and Patty and Lisa, we clicked so well, and we love each other. You know, we went through a transformation, you know, with
children
and
Oh, Daniela, I accidentally muted you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I was trying to unmute the other person. You can unmute yourself and finish up.
Okay. No, I was just saying that I love my local team here. I love them, and we are friends for life, I hope. And,
I love it.
And also, I can't believe, so I'm from Mexico, and I could not believe the passion and the drive from the Mexico team. And I know you're going to Cancun soon, and they are fired up, Stephanie. Like, I could not believe, and just all of them, right? Like from China, from Singapore, like, I can't believe it. This is amazing. This is
I love it.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you for sharing. So if you guys, like, if you couldn't tell, it was Danielle is new. So she's brand new to the company. And when I saw her come, when I knew she was coming, so you have to understand, when it doesn't matter, like Mandy said, it's not here to make you feel bad, but when you go, or like when you get around like-minded people, if you go to the playbook event that's coming up, if you go to a Keto Life party in your local area with other promoters, right? You get to be around like-minded people. And she hasn't left her house in 12 years. She hasn't left her kids, right? And so what I heard from her is like, Prove It gives you the confidence. It teaches you how to get out of your shell. Like, we're learning, like, it's okay to be uncomfortable. And I'll tell you one thing about Danielle. Daniela came up to me at the end of the event and she said, how did you, we were chatting on stage, and she's like, how did you get to where you are today? And this is what I want to tell everybody on here, is you can watch somebody improve it. You can watch Mandy or Danny Webb, or you can watch Chris, or you can watch Ashley or Jess. You can watch anybody, and you might go, man, they're just naturally gifted. How did she get to be so good at that? Why can Mandy take such beautiful pictures? Why is Danny so great at working out? Like, all of these things. But I was telling her, I said, you didn't see my story 4 years ago. I said, I knew that I wanted to help inspire other people. I knew that I wanted to speak. I didn't know what that looked like. And this is how you get there. You raise your hand. Like I said, if you want to be a better leader or a better speaker, if you want to play a bigger role, you raise your hand, right? So like I told Daniela, I said, are you going to raise your hand to speak on the Zoom? Like, that's the first of all. When somebody says like, hey, can you do a Keto Life party with me and share? Like, you raised your hand, you get out of your comfort zone. Like, that's what we learn to do all together. And Prove It gives you the opportunity to go, hey, I want to do something. Like, what do I do? Like, this is my gifts. And so, Daniela, thank you for sharing. I love that. I loved your takeaway. I love it. Mandy, did you have somebody you want to share?
I have a couple people I'm going to call on. I kept everybody on their toes, so I just said, be on, and I'm going to call on somebody who shared a good takeaway, so they don't even know who I'm going to call on. But real quick, I just wanted to touch base. First of all, it's super weird because I can hear myself in the other room because Jack's watching from the other room. I agree that it was really cool to see all those people represent from different countries, Daniela. I love that that was something you really paid attention to. I think that I'm always blown away with the sheer reminder that we in the United States we completely take what we have for granted, and that people from Singapore and Australia and Canada and Mexico are going through all that they need to go through just to get to where we are. And now we saw people from the UK, and I kept hearing people like in our COC meetings say things like, nobody in England is positive or happy. Nobody in my country is positive or happy. There's nowhere where we can go to get this. And they're asking for permission from their governments to come into our country, to come into a Prove It event. And there are people who live in Southern Florida who didn't show up. It blows my mind. So I hope every time I go, I'm more determined to get more people at the next one, because I'm like, what the heck? People who fly 24 hours are beating us. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch base on that. I'm actually going to call on two Brittany. So now they both probably know who I'm calling on, to just kind of share their takeaways. And then I would love to share some of mine. And then depending on timing, maybe there's one other person or whatever that I would put on this list to chat. But Brittany Bradshaw, I'm going to have you share first. And what is your takeaway, and how do you think it's going to impact your business and your team's business moving forward?
Okay, so I'm really excited to be on. The adrenaline pumping through my veins right now is pretty real. So my biggest takeaway actually happened in the champ meeting. It was Jarek Robbins. He said, people can't hear a word coming out of your mouth because your actions are so loud. And I just thought about my kids and what my actions are teaching them. So it's really easy to get frustrated or hear a no and get overwhelmed, or, sorry, the dogs are coming barking. To get overwhelmed or to give up or something like that. But what am I going to teach my 8-year-old daughter? Am I going to teach her to put a lot of emphasis into what other people think about her? Am I going to teach her to give up at the first sign of resistance? Or am I going to teach her to keep pushing forward and to not give up? And something else that was said to me was, to build a big business, you have to let go of what other people think about you. So that was passed down to me from my mother, and that's not something that I want to pass down to my children, to like let their lives be dictated by what other people think about you, because you honestly can never control what other people are going to think about you. They're going to think stuff about you regardless of what you do or what you don't do. So what I've been trying to do is think about, how are my actions being dictated? Like, what are the thoughts that are driving my action? Whenever I post on social media, am I thinking, oh, I want them to think this, or oh, I don't want them to think this? Because those actions are being driven by what other people think about me. So whenever I catch myself, I'm doing the stop technique that Joseph McClendon taught us. So whenever I say, whenever I go to post on social media and I'm like, oh, I don't want them to think, I'm like, stop. Okay, that's not what we're going to do. And the replacement thought that I'm thinking is, I only care about the opinions of others that know me and love me for who I truly am. So if I can't be myself on social media, and if I can't show who I truly am, it doesn't matter what other people think, because they don't know and love me for who I truly am. So I'm just trying to be very mindful of what I'm thinking and what thoughts are driving my action. And then just one more thing, how everybody got so good, like how you got good, how Stephanie got good, all of the leaders, the top leaders in our company, right? They took action, they failed, and they learned, and then they took more action, and they failed, and they learned, and they took more action, and they failed, and they learned. And so I don't think that failure is a bad thing. I think that failure is a great thing, and you learn from every failure. So the only time that failure is a negative thing is when you fail ahead of time and you just fail by not taking action, because then you're just failing yourself ahead of time. So that's what I learned.
I love it. It's so good. I'm so proud of you. Those were really great takeaways. And I got the preview because Brittany and I sat until some ungodly hour of the morning one night and just went to town with all of our takeaways. So I knew that they were going to be good. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how you've already talked about, like, how you already know how those takeaways are going to, like, impact your business and how they're already changing your business and how you treat it. So that's really cool. I would love to have the other Brittany pop on. I think, let me see, she texted me, so let me see if I can find her. Brittany, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
I can't see you, so I'm trying to find your pretty face.
Oh.
I can see you. I can see you, Brittany.
I'll put you on speaker view, then I should see you. Okay, go ahead, Brittany. So if you could, same question, like, what was the takeaway that you got from this event, and how are you applying it to your business? Like, because that's, I think, what people want to hear too, is like, okay, great, what do I do with that takeaway? So tell us what you're doing.
Yeah. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually had two major takeaways. People who were in the COC meeting know that my dad actually came to the event with me, and my dad is a customer. And so when he came, he kind of had the mindset that he was just coming to support me as his daughter. And I told him how this event changed my life with personal development and growth and self-worth and everything last year. And I just, long story short, witnessed him have this breakthrough moment, and the fact that he's 64 years old and came to the realization that his life isn't over and that his best years are ahead of him. And so it really just kind of reinforced what BU talks about, that Prove It is just so much more about our community and building the fact that all of us can pursue our best life, whether it be dreams, goals, and everything like that. And so how I've kind of transpired that is, one, he just went back to Michigan, fired up, and is telling all of his friends and family. And so now he might eventually become a promoter within the company. And if he doesn't, then he'll just lead me to a bunch of customers. But it just made me realize to not like count anybody out. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call who we kind of decide for other people whether or not they need our product and whether or not they need our community. And being that my dad is 64 years old, there's a lot of times where I don't go approach, you know, the baby boomers and older about the product. And so right now, actually, I decided to extend my trip in Florida. I'm staying for another week in Orlando in a retirement community. My parents are not here. I have their house to myself. And I have been like talking to 60 and 70 and 80-year-olds about the product and the community and the fact that life isn't over. So was a huge takeaway for me. And that's kind of how I'm putting that into action, is just building like a business and a product story like within a retirement community that's 150,000 plus people. Like, it's just untouched. And then another thing that was a big takeaway for me, my voice is so raspy. So I've been like trying to stay off the phone with people today because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Another big thing was something that Jarek Robbins said, and it was something about like the mindset and the behavior of the leader is the behavior of the leader. And then the mindset and the behavior of the team is the behavior and mindset of the team. And so I think for me, like, there were months prior to this that I'm like, well, why isn't my business moving? Why am I not moving forward? And when I actually like heard Jarek Robbins say that, I'm like, well, I'm not in action every single day. So how can I expect my team to be in action every single day? And so really, like, one thing that BU or Michael Rutherford said when we were there, they just said, you know, if you want your team to have a breakthrough, like, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad about not going to these events, but like, get people to the events. Like, that's where these breakthroughs can happen. And you see that it's so much more than just selling a product and sharing ketones. And so what's really cool is I've seen Renee go back, Mike go back, Chelsea go back, Rebecca go back, all these people that were there on my team, Kelly go back, and like, they are literally in action. And now every single promoter or person that came in under them is like, oh my God, they're on Facebook, they're on social media, they're like planning keto life parties. And so it just trickles down. So I think what Jarek said is, you know, the mindset and behavior of the leader is the behavior of the leader, and then it's followed by your team. So those are probably like my biggest two takeaways, and that's kind of how we're putting those into action.
I love it. Thank you so, so much. Stephanie, do you think we have time for a few more? Because you know I'm not going to be able to not share.
Well, so I have one girl that's going to share about the action step that we're going to do. So I'm going to have her share at the end. Something that you said, Brittany, one of the phrases they said is, if I don't do it, how can I expect my team to do it? So like, I think that's super powerful to write down on top of what you said, because you always need to look at yourself as an action point and going, if I'm not doing the actions, then why in the world would I go, hey, Mandy, you need to do a keto life party, but I've never done one before, right? Like, yeah, grab some other takeaways for sure. And then I have one girl, I have Danny Webb, who's going to help us at the end do an action step.
Okay, great. So I'm going to call on a couple more people, and then I would love to share mine because I just am so fired the freak up, and it's so cool because they all connect really well with what we've already heard from everybody. So Ashley Brandon and her hubby, I don't know if her hubby's on with her. They might still be in Disney World, but I think she texted me. Hi, there you go. Okay, I'm going to mute myself so I can just hear you. But same question. I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway is and like how you feel that's going to move your business forward.
Okay. Yeah, poor Mandy. I was like, please let me share. Please let me share. Okay, so I was sitting there on the first day, Keto Academy, and it just hit me. Thank God I'm going to hear my heart here, fat and grumpy and miserable, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't have found this product. This product changed my body for sure, and has led me on this track of finding my health. And then, we hit more, and then it became, thank God we desperately needed some extra money. Thank God we desperately needed something in our life to give us more. And as I sat there watching, my whole team was sitting in a row in front of me during the end of More, and it's a really powerful part of More. And I just saw them all standing up with their hands in the air, tears coming down their faces. And I just thought, all of this, me being overweight, me needing some extra money, me needing some community led me to this. And not only is it impacting me, but I get to watch it impact my team right here, right now. And so I love when Michael Rutherford says, we're not in the business of ketones, we're in the business of events. And I see that now, because those people in that row in front of me had their lives impacted because of me, because I asked them to come, because I dragged some of them to the event. And they broke arrows with their necks, and they had all these amazing experiences. And there was one girl who was scared to just come because she thought she would be overwhelmed by the people. And she stepped through a freaking arrow. Like, I watched them change in front of me. And so this is so much more than just me, or me losing fat, or, you know, me having a business. It's so much more than that. And so it just really hit me. And okay, my hubby's here. He's here too. I wanted him to share too, because this was his first event.
What am I sharing?
What was your takeaway?
Okay, well, I didn't write a speech. That's ridiculous. I like the keto, the academy part of it. I mean, it was good validation for me. A lot of people, I even myself would question Ashley a lot. It's this keto thing. I understand it helps me out with energy, but is it really doing all these things? So getting to see how the scientists put all that together and had everything documented, it was really mind blowing. The other thing was that hearing everybody else's testimonials, you know, the personal testimonials and how it changed their lives, that was an eye opener for me. You know, I just didn't know it actually did all that. I guess I wouldn't. You know, I haven't been in that situation where it just completely changed my life, but I mean, it's helped me out a lot, and it was nice to see how much it helped everybody else.
So now he has come up with, we're literally coming up with a plan for him to be able to leave his job and work with me full time. So I know it's really exciting. So my biggest takeaway, or my biggest action step for you, is start planning for the next event. We know we're going to Louisville. Start getting your people ready. Start prepping them, getting them to save a little bit of their private paycheck. Start getting them to these events, because that's where it's going to change your business and it's going to change their life. Okay.
And just for the record, you guys, all these people that Ashley got to see change and transform before her eyes couldn't go. I don't know if you remember, but Ashley is one of those team leaders who she and her team got together and did fundraisers and bake sales and car washes and garage sales and egg drops and Valentine's and all those things. And not only did they raise enough money to get all these families to Keto Academy and more, but they all got to spend a day in Disney World the next day. So like, talk about powerful, and talk about stickiness, and talk about like amazement. So I fully believe that every time Ashley's team gets to an event, it's going to be more of them and more of them and more of them and more of them. So I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for you guys. And I love that you guys got to experience it together. So I'm going to just share mine real quick, if that's okay, Stephanie. I have 3 really short ones, and then I'm going to explain how I'm going to use those things to move my business forward and hopefully help y'all move your business forward. And then I'm so excited for our action step and what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks too. So I wrote down a couple of things, like, obviously the event is a long time, right? Like, we're there for several days. Some of us are there for more days than others. And my very first takeaway that I really just want to share with all of you happened actually in our COC excursion. So I don't know if you all saw, but we were doing the tree trekking adventure, which, by the way, there's one of those by my house. So my kids are going on Saturday. Like, I'm like, come on, we're going, we're doing it. It was awesome. But my biggest takeaway was, like, you're up in the trees, you're on these wobbly things. It's a total obstacle course. Like, nothing has balance. You're walking across this little tightrope that, like, for real, your foot does not fit on. Boards are swinging. You've got to use ropes. You have to swing and go on a rope ladder. Like, I'm going to curse for a minute here, you guys, but it's just shit you wouldn't do in real life unless you were hooked to the cable above you, right? Like, it would literally be death-defying to do 95% of what we did unless you were hooked to the thing above you. And I just thought to myself, every time I watched anybody do it, anytime I did anything, I thought, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fall? Right? Like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fall? None of us would have done any of those things if we weren't hooked on to the freaking cable. It literally would not have been safe. Like, no one would do it. But we did all of them, or most of them, depending on how far you got in the courses. But you did it because you knew even if you fell, you weren't really going to fall. Even if you slipped, even if you missed a step, you weren't going to fall. And like, I just want everybody to apply that to their business. Like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fall? What would you do if you knew the no wasn't going to crush you? What would you do if you knew no matter what, one step in front of the other, no matter how challenging it was, you were going to make it to the end of the course? Like, what if no matter what, you knew you'd be a legend someday? What would you do? And like, that's just been huge for me, because I do tell myself I can't do that. I do hold back from things because I think that's not for me, or that I won't be good at it, or that I might fail. And the reality is like, we're just at the very beginning of this. Prove It is a baby. And we've got some of the coolest freaking people that I've ever worked with building systems for us that will work for our business and work for us to grow. And if we just do the things, we literally can't fall. Like, the only way you're going to fall is if you unhook yourself. So like, don't unhook yourself. Stay plugged into our community, stay plugged into our company, stay plugged into our events, stay plugged into your team. Like, you can't fall if you stay plugged in. So that was just huge for me and just sat with me the whole weekend. And that's really how, like, that's not a specific action step, but it's just something I'm going to keep in the back of my head every time I go to try something new for our business. My other really big takeaway happened really towards the end. I thought that the aero break was my biggest takeaway. Like, I'm not going to lie. I went into the event, and for those of you who heard me share in COC, I went into the event thinking, I need the aero break. The aero break's where my takeaway is going to be. I need the aero break. The aero break is going to be where my moment is going to be. I need it. I know I need it. It was better and more awesome than I thought. But at the end of Sunday, Stephanie was sitting in the same row as me. She probably didn't know what to do with herself. Brittany Nelson was sitting next to me, and at one point was like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I hug you, or do I just let you have your moment? Like, you're kind of freaking me out. I can tell Stephanie was thinking the same thing, because I literally came apart. So Brian, when he's on stage and he's speaking, I already know that he does this thing where if he sees people that he knows sitting close to the stage, he uses their names, and he uses it as a way to anchor himself to what he's saying. He uses it as a way to keep himself on track. He uses it as a way to like draw correlation with everyone in the audience. Like, so if he knows you and he knows your name, chances are some other people probably know your name too. So like, it can pull people back into the conversation. So I know that what Brian said was not about me. Okay, so I'm going to preface this. I know that what he said was not about me. But for me, it was about me. He was just speaking in general, and I happened to be sitting there. And so he saw my face and used my name. But in a split second, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. Like, this is what changed me probably for forever. My husband does not even know who walked home from this event. Like, he doesn't know who I am right now. Like, he's like, this is amazing. You're the coolest lady ever. So not in a scary way. But Brian was, he was doing this speech on stage, and he was just talking about the growth of our businesses and what's most important. And he just said, Mandy's business isn't going to grow anymore until she gets connected with her why. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever heard me literally train on your why. Okay. I do it all the time. I know what my why is. So in that split, I mean like 1001. That's all the time it took. I went from what the hell, dude? I know what my freaking why is, to, oh my God, knowing what my why is and being connected to it are two completely different things. That is not the same thing. And something happened to me that I didn't even know happened until he said it. And again, I know it wasn't about me. I know he and I don't talk about my why, so I know he doesn't know whether or not I'm actually connected to it. So I know it wasn't about me. But I just was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this became about something like I looked back over the last several months and realized that it became about something other than my why. That telling you what my why is and saying I know what my why is and having it written down doesn't mean my actions were actually geared towards that. So if I'm being completely transparent with you, in the past 6 or 7 months, my children have probably heard me say that I suck. My children have probably heard me say I'm not good enough. My children have probably heard me say, oh, I'm not hitting this goal, or I didn't get that done, or this didn't happen, or this person is upset, or this person left our team and that's my fault and I'm the failure and why didn't I do what I needed to do? Like, my children have probably heard me say more negative things than positive. And I'm a pretty freaking positive person, but they've probably heard me say some negative things about myself, right? My action steps, I do the things every day, you guys, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I check off on my notebook. I do all this stuff. But why was I doing them? I was doing them to prove a point. I was doing them, if I'm being quite transparent, to gain the approval of people. Like, oh, Mandy, you are good. Like, you can do it. You're good enough. We trust you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was doing it for that. I was doing it to play the comparison game. Like, literally, like, those people over here, look, this is not where I was focused. I was focused over here. Those people are doing something. I want to do that too. So I did all the things, but why I was doing them was not for my why. Like, I freaking started this to show my kids that they can have whatever they want and they can do whatever they want and they don't have to make decisions based off of money. I started this so I can show my kids how to be a better version of themselves. I started this so that I could teach my children that it's okay to want and accept abundance and to help other people want and accept abundance as well. And that's not what I was doing any of this stuff for, at least not for the last few months, right? So I really, in that split second, went from, who do you think you are? I know what my why is, to, oh, shiitake mushrooms. That is not even what you meant by that, right? So I'm still committed to doing all the things I've always been doing because my to-do list is big. My DMOs are big and I'm consistent with them. But I cannot tell you how different it feels to do them today compared to how it felt to do them last Wednesday. I'm going to be honest with you. So as much as I've said to you, figure out your why, figure out your why, figure out your why, like, don't just figure it out. Like, be connected to it. Like, I don't care what you have to do, like, but connect yourself to it, figure it out. Like, I am making a commitment to myself that everything that comes out of my mouth and every ounce of energy that I have towards me and our business and our team and Prove It and our products and even the challenging stuff that we have to go through as we grow a business, it's all going to radiate abundance and positivity because it feels way better. And I'll tell you what, just that small shift in my attitude, just that small shift in what I'm connected to, like, I have more 5 and 10 day packets going out on a Wednesday than I've ever had. And I'm going to be honest, I slept most of Monday to get over travel. So in like less than 48 hours, I've done more because I'm not trying to do it to compete with anybody else or get anybody's approval or hit a rank or show somebody who decided Prove It wasn't for them, too bad, so sad. Like, I don't even give a rip about anybody else. I give a rip about my kids and what I'm teaching them. So, like, I ordered like a little custom ring in the airport on my way back that says do the things, which I know we always say do the things, but like I want to look at it on my finger every freaking day and know and remember like why I'm doing the thing. So my kids are about to have the best freaking year of their life. Like, they're never going to hear one crappy thing come out of their mom's mouth. And I can only imagine, like, if we've done what we've done and I didn't have a connection to my why, what the heck is about to even happen? Like, I don't even know, but it's going to be ridiculous. So I'm so fired up. I'm sorry. I took like 10 minutes. I hope y'all still love me. I'm just like so fired up.
You know what made me realize? And here's the deal too. In this business, like Brian really specifically talked about one of the things from stage, there's a business conversation and there's friend conversations. And when you come into this business, you make friends that are forever. And sometimes you've got to have conversations or different types of like sometimes Mandy and I would have to, I might have to go, Mandy, are we friends right now? Or are we talking business? But I remember looking over at you, Mandy, because I saw it. And I heard it and I thought for a second, I almost legitimately got up and went and grabbed you because I instantly saw your face and I saw you grab your phone and I thought she's going to lose it. And then I thought, you know what? She can handle it. And you did. And sometimes you've got to help people go through that. You've got to let them go through that, right? Like sometimes we want to save people so much because they get into the business and they've got to figure out their why and they may not have hit their rank, but that's a part of grit. Like that's a part of, like Brian says, the people that are going to win at this business are the people that have the grit, the determination, they're connected to their why, and they're going to do it no matter what anybody says. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I love that I actually got to watch you do that because it was pretty powerful to walk you through that, to watch you over that hour. Cause I kept going just to see how you were doing.
It's so funny by the time I actually got to my phone later, because I picked up my phone as a like, okay, look at something else, don't have a complete mental breakdown right now. Because of where I was sitting, I knew everyone in the audience that was facing the stage could see me. And I was like, you got to keep your shit together, girl. Like, you cannot lose it. Like, lose it later when you process this. Don't lose it right now. And then, of course, the more I said it, then I lost it. But when I actually looked at my phone later, the number of text messages from people that were like, are you okay? Are you all right? Is everything okay? What's going on? Do you need a hug? What can I do? It's like, I just know I'm so loved inside of this community because I probably had 20 or 30 text messages from people like who did witness it. And like I said, poor Brittany didn't know what to do. Katie Rollins came and put her hands on me like we were at church and I just accepted the Holy Spirit. It was like the craziest thing ever, but it was all good. It wasn't, I mean, I'm forever a different person. And it happened in a split freaking second. And it wasn't about me. But I promise you, like, you're about to see a whole new Mandy.
Well, and what that goes to is like, we all love the product, right? But if you stick with this long enough, so what's something fun that happened at the event is I had people coming up to me the entire event going, Stephanie, what's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway? Some of the leaders said like they gave their teams like a task, right? And I kept saying, hey, my biggest thing here at Prove It is consistency and like taking action and not giving up. I'd say one of those things. And they would say, oh, everybody says that. And I would say the same thing and they go, oh, I just got that same answer. And so, you know what, I'll tell you this, my biggest takeaway, Mandy, simply is this isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be simple. And while we are there and we learned about the product again, and we learned about the powerfulness of it. I don't even know if that makes sense. We put on our shields, right? We can go, like Daniela said, and we've got the belief behind the product and the experts. And we broke through fears and we're learning how to get out of our comfort zones and we're building a muscle to like not compare ourselves. But all of that brings this business back to the simple conversation of what do you know about ketones and ketosis? Everything else is learned. Everything else is experienced as I plug into our community. Everything else, like you could see people looking for a secret, right? And what's so fun is at this event, we did something completely different we've never done before. We took one whole day and we put people into action, what we're going to do to you very soon. But we taught on something and then we made everybody leave and go do the action and they worked. And they didn't work like, hey, just casually, like people were in working for hours with their teams in the hallway, calling people, making posts, doing lives. And it was because they were around like-minded people. It was because they had the freedom to go, oh, I just have to do the ACE, attract, connect, enroll. Oh, I just have to go make a post. And we just help people, give them the freedom to go do it. Go do it with Mandy, or go reach out to Ashley, or go team up with Patty. Like, that's what we're going to do. And so everything that we learned, it all goes back to attract, connect, enroll. That's it. Mm-hmm. And you will grow in your own self in that. So, hey, why don't we dive into, Mandy, did you have anything else you wanted to say on top of that?
No, I don't, but I know what we're headed into next, and I'm excited about it. And I think that, like, why I'm excited about it is because of what I just said too. Like, if you guys can get really, I mean, now that I know what I know from what I learned in that split second, it's going to be my new piece of passion. Like, when we talk about do the things, and we talk about this activity that we're going to start with, I don't want to give too much of it away. You know, just think about, like, if you aren't quite sure how to take what I just said and apply it to you in your business, like, the best thing I can say is, like, if you were connected to your why, if you were connected to it and you knew exactly why you were doing it and you felt it inside of your heart, how would that person who's truly living out their why, how would they treat their business? How would they treat the action steps that we're going to talk to you about moving forward? How would that person, like, if my why really truly is to do what I just said, and if I am really committed to it, what does that mean my tomorrow is going to look like? Right? I'm not going to sit on the couch and watch Fixer Upper all day, which, to be perfectly honest, I've had way too many days of those lately. Like, you know what I'm saying? I do really love that show. One day I'm going to buy a house in Texas, not live in it because I don't want to live in Texas, but I'm going to buy a house in Texas and let them fix it up just for fun. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, next. I love it. So, well, this next person that's going to share, if everybody can see, Steve's back here. Babe, they can see you with your little, say hi to Steve. He's right here. Mr. VP. What are you?
I'm kind of offended you don't even know.
I know. Yeah. People say, what is your husband doing at Prove It? VP of Business Development. He's really excited. So if anybody doesn't know, Steve's working on the corporate side of Prove It now, and he's really excited. So sorry, we talked about that at the event, but he's working on some stuff back there. Hey, so Danny Webb is going to pop on here because her and I were sitting at dinner the other night, and she was like, hey, what if we do what she's going to explain? I chatted with Brian yesterday, and Mandy and a couple other people, and we kind of have an idea of what it could look like. So Danny, why don't you explain it, and then we're going to kind of talk through it.
Hey, you froze up for like 30 seconds, so I didn't hear anything that you said. I'm sorry. Yeah. You were like,
okay, I'm sorry. You go.
Are we just talking about what I talked to Cameron?
I'm so sorry. Okay, so I was talking to you, and I didn't realize anybody froze, so that's my fault, and that was on my end. Please forgive me. So Danny and I were at dinner, and she said, hey, I talked to one of the girls in COC. They did this on their team. What if we did something like this? So Danny and I were chatting, and then I talked to Brian, and he kind of gave us a little bit of a different, like the same kind of concept. So why don't you kind of say what you were thinking, and then we're going to go and explain what we're going to do with it.
Okay, sure. So forgive me why your voice is also raspy because, again, we were all playing full out. And I teach HIIT training in the morning. I scream my head off. So I'm going to try my hardest to get this through the screen. Can you hear me? Okay. So the last night when we were in COC, Cameron Moss had said something about the last event they had 20 people there. They decided to do this, they called it the Rhino Run. It was a 3-week run, and it's very directional coaching with everyday specific tasks. So their volume from basically from one event to the next, they went from 20 people up to like, I think 70 or 75 people they had at the next event, the one that we just had. So immediately I was drawn to her. I said, hey, do you have a couple minutes? I want to talk to you, find out exactly what you did, because I thought that would be something super awesome for us to take back to our teams. So she said, she gave me the rundown on it, said exactly what they did. And like Stephanie said, I brought it to her at dinner and she was all on board. So basically it's just that. It's the next 3 weeks and we're going to lily pad from event to event, but we're going to focus hardcore on the next 3 weeks until the playbook events. It doesn't matter which one you're going to. Anybody that wants in is welcome to be in. And it's basically every day you're going to have very directional steps to tasks to do. That's it. It's an every day you're going to get plugged in. And this is your tasks for the day. Check in when you're done. That's it. Keep it simple. But it's going to be an every day for the next 3 weeks. Make sense?
Yes, exactly. So we were first thinking like a 90-day run, and then Brian was like, hey, let's do from now until the playbook event. And so kind of what we were thinking is, and Brian said the same thing, Mandy said they've done this before, like a similar idea is like, we said, why don't you, if you're on here, if you want your teams or get back with anybody that's not on here and go, hey, for the next 21 days, whoever raises their hand and they want to commit and they want to get into a little bit more of like a, hey, this is like an accountability group, and everybody's going to team up with their own team. So like, we'll get together and we'll figure out kind of what the action steps are, and we can kind of share it with everybody's teams that are going to do it together, whatever your accountability looks like, your group, whether it's 5 people or 20 people, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you, like Danny said, so we have an action step for you tonight and tomorrow going into tomorrow night. But we're going to give you something or a couple things specifically to do, because what happens is, and I heard this today, a girl reached out and she said, man, Stephanie, you're going to be so mad at me. I keep coming back to you because I'm doing the things and then I follow for a month and I'm doing them and I get so overwhelmed. And I said, I said, sometimes, and I'm not sure if anybody's heard this before, we give ourselves a long list of to-do lists. Raise your hand if sometimes you feel like you're like, hey, I'm going to do all of my things today are so long that it's overwhelming. Like, we give people all these action steps, and sometimes it paralyzes the brand new people, or if you're not brand new, and they don't do anything, right? But what if you just did 1 or 2 things that would still move your business, right? And they're very specific. So that's what we're going to do running into the playbook event. And so Brian said he'd help me give some ideas. Danny and Mandy and some other people said they'd help give some ideas. We have an idea for tomorrow night. But really what I wanted to do, Danny, if you have anything else to say, I'll have you say anything in a second. But the playbook event is what I wanted to talk about. And maybe you could share what you think of that too. But if you don't understand what the playbook event is, we had our very first playbook event at Epic. And it's a 1 day. You're going to see them. They're in Atlanta, Cancun, San Diego, and Toronto. It's a 1 day full immersion training you on how to build your business. I love the breaking arrows. I love all that stuff, but there's no this is strictly how to do a keto life party. What does social media look like? Advanced social media, truly community-based marketing. It's action things that you can take home, and if you do it, it's going to consistently over time, taking action will build your business. It's a 1 day powerful event. So what you need to do is figure out where your teams are at in those locations and drive into those teams for these next 3 weeks, because they're going to be super powerful. Danny, you went to Epic, and do you have anything else to say about the Rhino, the kind of, if we call it a Rhino run or whatever we call it?
No, just we're going to, I guess, just reach out to your COC, your champ, and just tell them that you want in this accountability group. I'm not sure, we haven't really gone as far, but we'll put everybody in our own groups, or we're going to be filling out the logistics. I think Mandy's going to touch on the first step for tomorrow. Or are you going to say what it is?
Hey, I'm going to have Mandy talk about it because it's storming really bad here and I must be losing my connection. So I'll have Mandy cover kind of what tomorrow looks like.
Perfect. So tomorrow is going to start day 1, first action step. So when we finish this Zoom call, I would just recommend maybe if you just want to shoot a message to your champ or pro champ and let them know that you want in on the group, and we can collaborate from there.
Okay, guys, so like these ladies were saying, the playbook event is going to give us tactics, right? So we want to build into that and have as many people there as possible, but we also want to head into it with a really strong business. And one thing I loved about how we broke apart, you guys, if you agree with me, let me know, how we broke up that first day of more, where we learned something and then took a break to do it. And we learned something and we took a break to do it. And I feel like this is going to be like that. Like Stephanie said, we can give you a list of 50 things to do, but if it overwhelms you, you won't do anything. So let's focus on 1 or 2 things at a time teach on it, train on it, and then allow you to focus on it for a day, right? So tomorrow night, we are going to have a call, like a Zoom, just like this, that you can invite all of your brand new customers to. So these might be people who are thinking about drinking the product, who you shipped some out to them and it hasn't arrived yet. Maybe they've gotten a 5-day or a 10-day. Maybe they've ordered a box. Maybe they've been drinking it for a little while and you think they'd be great at becoming a promoter, or maybe they've expressed interest in becoming a promoter. But what we're going to do is have a call where like half of it is really about how to get the best use out of the product, except it's not just about getting the best use out of the product. We're going to talk to them about how being on SmartShip and sharing with their friends helps them get the best results. And then kind of trickle that into, hey, here's why you should share it and become a part of our community. So our action step is between now and then to invite. So I would love for you to drop in the chat below, like how many of your customers and promoters, and how many of your customers and potential promoters, I guess I can't talk today, do you want to have on this Zoom? Like just think on the top of your head. Like I sent out 12 10-packs today, so I for sure have 12 people that I want on the call. Okay, so 10, 15, 10, 11, 15, 15. So if you want to have 15 people on this Zoom tomorrow, how many people do you think you need to invite?
Chris, somebody said, what does the invite look like?
We're going to talk about that. So the invite, probably double or triple or quadruple the number and invite them. So the invite can look like anything. Like how Chris invites to this might look different than how I invite to it, right? Because I'm pretty confident Chris and I don't talk to people the same way, right? So I'm pretty sure he doesn't say like, hey sister, or hey friend, or hey chica. Like I'm pretty sure he doesn't say that, but I do. So I'm gonna message all of the people that I just shipped their product out to, and I'm gonna say, hey girlfriend, all your goodies are in the mail. I can't wait for you to get them. Listen, while you're waiting for your 10-day to arrive, I would love to have you hop on this Zoom call tomorrow night. We're going to go over the best way to use the product so you can get the best results. I think it's going to make your 10-day experience that much better. Super simple. Are you available? Okay. I don't like to just throw the link, because the minute you throw the link, they're like, oh, she just does a link, right? So I try to have a conversation with them. Here's the time. Are you available? I'd love to have you on. Now, here's the best part. If they say no, I'm going to say, that's okay. We're going to have a recording. Is it cool if I send it to you afterwards? Right? So either way, I want to get them bought in so that they're going to watch it no matter what. But if they say yes, I'm going to send them the link. And if they say no, I'm going to remember to follow up and send them the recording. I'm going to do something very similar for all the people that have ordered recently. You can find all the people who've ordered from your cloud office too, manage, community, and just look at the last 10 to 15 people who've even ordered from you, right? Like, I know I haven't probably followed up with every single one of them yet to make sure that they know about our free product and sharing with people and the business and how is it going. Like, I just haven't. Life has been crazy. So those are the places I'm going to pull from people, and that's the type of invitation I'm going to send. Call people, text them, send them an email, whatever works for you and your communication level. Chris, do you want to give an example of what you might say, since I'm pretty sure you're not going to message anyone and go, hey girlfriend? I mean, maybe you will. I don't know. I shouldn't assume.
Right. So you know what? Can you hear me first? Okay. So first, actually, I like what you said while you're waiting because that I think can get wrapped or spread into any part of their life. So while you're, in your second month of, or while you can fill in the blank. Hey, we have a Zoom call that's going to touch on a few different things, about our community, what we're learning, and then, again, fill in the blank. So I think just using a kind of a template like that, how you open the conversation, of course, is going to be different for everybody. But I like that. But I like it short and sweet. And I agree with you 100%, not to just shoot the link. No one's going to jump on. So like, Eric Worre talks about it all the time. If I would you, right? So getting that commitment from them, or even clearing up their schedule. I like to do that a lot. So I'll be like, hey, Jack, what do you got going on tomorrow night at 6? So you're basically clearing their schedule, because if they have nothing, okay, perfect. This is what's happening, right? And then it's kind of hard for them to backpedal out and go, whoa. You know what I mean? Because it happens, right? But so I like to clear the schedule a lot and then go that route. But I think when we move the conversation from here down 16 inches to here, one of the best pieces of advice that Steve Mielke ever gave me, when you do that, you can't mess up the invite.
I love that. I love clearing their schedule first. I think that's great. And so what's really cool is that if you do nothing else tomorrow, whether you decide you want to be a part of this group that we're creating or not is irrelevant at this point. Regardless, either way, I want in or I want out. If the only thing you did tomorrow, every time you had 5 minutes, was invite to this Zoom, what would your business look like? Right? Like if all I did between now and tomorrow at whatever time we have this, I think it's 5 o'clock Pacific time. So if all I did over the next 22 hours, every time I had 5 to 10 minutes, was just find 5 or 10 people and shoot them a quick, hey, Joan, what do you have going on tomorrow at 5 o'clock? Like if that's all I did, what would my business look like if I could get everyone on? And again, like if you aren't really sure how to address what the call is, I would stick wholeheartedly with, we're going to talk about how to get the most out of the product, right? Because a lot of people, unless you've already talked to them about becoming a part of the community, they're not going to understand what that means. But if you say how to get the best use out of the product, everybody wants that, right? Like everybody asks you, how do I use this to get the best results? So here you go. Don't worry. We're going to talk to them about the community, because the community is how you get the best results, right? So it'll be 5 p.m. I know I've posted out, but I don't know if Stephanie has, and we see 2 different things. So you have to get it from either me or her. But it'll be tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific. So invite. And I can't wait to see, like, some of y'all put some big numbers up there of how many people you're going to invite. So I'm super pumped up. And We'll do a good job, and we'll try to keep it short.
Yes, it'll be 2020. We'll keep it short. It's going to be basically, we've done it before. How to use the product, give them some simple tips and tricks, smart ship, promoter ideas. So, hey, well, we value your time. We're going to let you go. We'll talk more about I know there's more people that wanted to share, so we can do a Sunday one, and we can talk more, some more action steps, and we'll let other people talk too. So I keep freezing, so I'm so sorry. It's this crazy storm, but it's recorded. We appreciate you all. Get in action, and we both will pulse out that thing again. Anything else, Mandy?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great night.
See you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.